Welcome back, Rugby Hub viewers. Another episode here with us where we're doing a Springbok squad discussion, and we're also going to quickly talk about the fact that apparently Lukhanyo Handre Pollard might be back in action before we know it. Let's see how that's going to happen. I mean, Goran, lovely to see your face back here in the Fox studios. Seems like it might be our last episode in Fox as we
It's
have to
coming
travel
to an
now.
end. Yeah.
Yeah, sadly. Apparently we have to travel to France. I didn't know that, people love us that much, but we will be on our way to France soon. So please do check out our Instagram, Rugby Hub Spot, because we will be bringing you live content from France, actually. And then also join the Super Brew Pool. We're creating a new Super Brew Pool for the World Cup. Some awesome prizes to be announced as well. Guri, how are you doing? Springbok squad has been announced, traveling to
Yeah.
France. Think there's obviously lots of question marks. A lot of people are confused. Let's first quickly take a look at the forwards. Let's dig straight into it. I mean, first of all, we've gone with 5 props, 2 specialist hookers, Dion Fourie, also obviously a third potential hooker in there. What do you make of that selection?
Well, Gabsy, good to see you. There was obviously an initial shock when word broke out before Jacques Nienaber named the 33-man squad on Tuesday that Lood, Jager, Handre Pollard, and Lukhanyo will not be part of the squad as they are injured. And Jacques Nienaber obviously saying that the players that he selected are all fit and ready to go. He also went further to explain that in the past World Cups, they've had players that they took to the World Cup who wasn't 100% fit. And then you've got a scenario where 6-7 guys can't train. They stand next to the field and they want to avoid taking any passengers. However, when we look at the selections, it does not look like something that we are used to. I think personally we might have gotten our management have gotten it wrong. However, we give them a lot of credit because they've given us results in the past. So we'll have to see if there is some sort of a master strategy behind this whole squad naming. But nevertheless, Gabriel, we selected 5 props with the likes Steven Kitshoff, Oxenchair, Frans Malherbe, Vincent Koch, and last one being Trevor Nyakane. Now, for me, that is also quite interesting, seeing that I think many countries would also believe that the South Africans pride themselves on having one of the, and if not the best forward pack in the world. And then to only take 5 props instead of 6. We know that Thomas du Toit can also play both sides. That is for me a little bit strange, and also only taking 2 specialist hookers, which might not be the end of the world.
I mean, on that note, Goran, I want to ask you actually, so who do you feel most sorry for? Like, which forward do you really feel most sorry for missing out on this squad actually right now?
Well, to name a few names, obviously Evan Roos not being selected, Jean-Luc Dupree not being selected. I mean, respectively getting 20, 30 minutes for this whole sort of
Hold up.
season.
Yeah.
For the World Cup season. So that's also concerning. It makes me wonder why they were even there. But I feel the most sorry for Thomas du Toit. He went in 2019 after Trevor Nyakane got injured. I think he might not have been as flash for the box over the recent 2 years or so, but still that experience, and I mean, he's got also the leadership capabilities. So I feel very sorry for Thomas not being in that squad. But nevertheless, I mean, the rest of that forwards sort of chosen looks very good. Obviously, no Lood de Jager due to his chest sort of illness, so we're not quite sure what's going on there. We see the likes of Marvin Orie and Jean Klein coming in. So
yeah, I mean, John Klein playing for Ireland in the previous World Cup, now playing for the Springboks, quite interesting. And I think it's also, just fair to say congratulations to Dion Fourie, making, your Springbok debut at such an age in a World Cup, your World Cup debut. Yeah, that's quite phenomenal. I think he might just be playing this kind of Schalk Brits type of role. But yeah, I do think
like that.
It's still a strong squad. I do agree with you. I really feel sorry for Thomas du Toit not making it. Nevertheless, I do back that we have a strong squad up front. Pretty pleased with it.
Yeah. Well, Gabs, moving on to the backs then. Also, quite a few strange selections with picking 4 scrum halves. I think we're the only team picking 4 scrum halves. That's quite an odd one. One specialized 10, which is arguably the most important position that you want to have good depth and quality in terms of player value for a World Cup. I mean, I think
Yeah.
this is the first time the Springboks are heading into a World Cup without a renowned sort of 80% plus goal kicker. So
Yeah.
what do you make of the whole 4 scrum halves chosen by
Um,
Jock
yeah.
Ninova? What's happening?
I mean, to be honest, Goran, like you pointed out, I think it might even be the first time in history that a squad travels with 4 scrum offs. I'm really quite confused. The only thing that
Mm,
could make sense for me is if there's a bigger plan that we're not aware of. I mean, obviously, with the likes of Faf de Klerk, Jaden Hendrikse, Kobus Reinach, and Grant Williams all in there.
mm,
Um, I think Grant Williams was still concussed of that last game against Argentina. I don't know
yeah.
if he's fit. It's yeah. To be honest, it's quite confusing. I really don't know what to make of it. The only thing I could imagine is that one of those players would pull out at some stage, and the likes of Handre Pollard comes in. Maybe that is the plan. I
Mm,
don't really know. I mean, I am also really concerned with the fact that we only have one specialist in with the likes of Mane
yeah.
Lebok. Phenomenal player,
Yeah.
but he still has to show on the big stage that he can do it. We're not talking about URC final year. We're talking about World Cup rugby right now. So
Yeah.
phenomenal player, but still a lot to prove.
Well, look, Mane Lebok is what, for, at least for his franchise with the Stormers for 2 years running, he was the highest point
Yeah,
scorer,
top point scorer.
and
Yeah,
also kicking about 75% plus. But he can have days where he is quite poor off the tee, and it
of
looks
course.
now that Jacques Ninabe has come out and said that Faf de Klerk will be back up for Mane Lebok, which does not give, I think, the average South African supporters a lot of hope. Let's be
Yeah,
honest. But then again, those 4 scrum offs that were chosen, okay, Faf de Klerk might be playing a dual role. But is there method to this madness? What is Lukhanyo Ums and Handre
I
Pollard situation?
I mean, I can just add, yeah, for me personally, I've said it from the start. For those of you who joined our live session on Tuesday after the
What a
announcement,
success. Yeah.
what a success! Of course, we'll do it again in the future, a
Just
bit more
really
prepared.
solidifying our amateur status.
Yeah. Anyways, but we shortly discussed there in our fourth take once we actually got both online that yeah, I mean, I personally think that Jock and Rassi are doing some sort of a Eddie Jones strategy here, where I do think one of those scrummers will pull out, and I'll put money on that. I will put money on that. So whether it's Grant or whether it's Hendrikse or even if it's Reinach, I think Pollard is coming back 100%. So that leads me to the next talking point. I mean, I don't want to dig too much into these 4 scrum offs because I do think that we will end the World Cup with 3 scrum offs, if not 2. I think that, yeah, Pollard will be fit. You've told me a rumor earlier in one of our previous conversations. What is the story of Pollard? Jock Ninoba
I
talked a
mean,
lot
he's
about
he's
Pollard
probably
and
going.
potentially being fit for
Yeah,
Scotland.
look,
So,
no, I think we should forget about unfortunately, he's out for 2 to 4 weeks at least, and that's still not the most accurate diagnosis that we've gotten. That's a more or less assessment. Handre Pollard will most likely, apparently, going to be returning to training, match day training or match week training next week ahead of Wales. That doesn't mean he will play, but you would obviously assume that they're very desperate to get him back, being the 2019 top scorer in the Rugby World Cup. But Gabsy, Nick Mullet said also can be with 100% sure that he will go to the World Cup, Handre Pollard. The thing is, for me, how do you get
my
Handre
bro,
Pollard and
Nick,
maybe
we WhatsApp
but
every
how do you
night.
get those two back into the squad? So the I know that there's a lot being said online about the squad submission is only the 1st of September, but I mean, what do you do now after you had your capping ceremony and like this whole grand gesture that they've been capped now for the World Cup, and then telling them, sorry, you're no longer going. So I don't think that is the route that the Springboks will take. The only way for a guy from the standby list, which you guys can see on the screen, would be able to come into fold for the Springboks, is if the player currently in the squad deselects himself and that is his own personal, right? That has got nothing to do with management, or if he suffers an injury which prohibits him from continuing in the in the tournament. So those are the only ways. So they're actually expecting that there might be an injury, and that's why he will be there. And Lukhanyo will be there, but we'll have to see how that unfolds. Unfortunately, at this stage, we don't
Well,
know yet.
Goran, thank you for spending some time in the books, informing us about how that could potentially work. I would be, quite surprised if a player deselects himself, but
Yeah,
then,
why would you?
the kind of the box is to put the team and the nation above yourself. So wouldn't be surprised if this is a strategic move. Obviously, it's quite, rough if you are getting asked to do that.
Mm,
We would not know. We will never know.
mm.
What do you think? Who would you start if you have to choose a team right now based on this current squad? And yeah, thank you so much for the continuous support.
Stay
We're
tuned
coming
for
up,
more. In Yeah,
obviously, with lots of exciting content with the World Cup to come. Check out the Rugby Hub spot on Instagram. And yeah, check out the Super Brew. Thank you so much for the continuous support.